Surfboards and scooters blown out completely. You can see all the way in. Look at the doors, the front glass totally down, ceiling's blown out, and some of that material fell on the golf carts next to. Look at all that broken glass everywhere.
Yeah. Wow.
So this was just a few minutes ago. This is literally one of the first things we saw, and I'll show you another. Hang with me one second here, because at the very corner of the building, Joy Nails, at the very corner, look at the side of the building ripped off. Fell right off the siding. You see the concrete behind it?
Right.
Hopefully I'm showing you.
Yeah. No, we can see it. We can see that well. That's a great idea.
Yeah. So that, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's not a lot. I mean, you know, it obviously could be worse. And we've seen a number of people already out. A couple of guys down here were cleaning one of the drainage ditches, not ditches, one of the grates, the grates over the drain.
Yeah.
Had clogged up. The guy was out there with a broom cleaning it up. There was a guy in his wheelchair. I don't know what he was doing, trying to pick up palm leaves. I saw a lady walking down in her swimsuit with her chanclas, with her flip-flops, right, holding them in her hand, barefooted. And I said, "You're not phased at all, are you?" And she said, "Not one bit." She said, "Born and raised, I'm an islander," and laughed and just kept on walking. So we've seen a little bit of everything already, and I'm not going to tell you there's morning traffic, but a lot of folks are out here already getting to work, cleaning up, getting to work, looking at the damage that they can, you know, seeing where they can help, and maybe in some cases just seeing to see. There was a group of about 3 over here taking selfies down by the seawall. So. And we've driven over a number of power lines too, by the way. So not safe yet, by any means.
All right. Hey, Owen, and we can see a little bit, it seems like sunshine, maybe not sunshine coming through the window, but at least light. Is the rain stopped? Is it just a drizzle now?
Yeah. Let me switch it up for you.
Oh, wow.
You know, it is. It's actually the rain. Yeah, let me flip it to the front. The rain has subsided quite a bit. I posted a picture on Facebook a little earlier this morning where there was just a brief break in the rain, and we were sitting right in the middle of it in the convention center. It might have been just a few blocks on either side, and I feel like we're in that kind of a thing right now. I mean, I was going to bring up the Storm Tracker app while we were chatting just to see, and yeah, I mean, right over the island, the Storm Tracker 2 app shows very light rain at this very moment. So, you know, for that reason, I see why people are getting up and venturing out. This is probably the first time of the night, first time since last night that they felt like, okay, you know, it's not so noisy.
Yeah.
You know, the rain's not pounding on my roof and whatnot. So,
right. And we see ponding on the side of the road there, but roads are accessible, at least the road that you were on. Yeah. All right. Well, Owen, thank you so much.
Yeah, we're on this is Rosenberg Street, passing Avenue O, and yeah.
All right. Thank you, Owen. We'll check back in with you.
There's a light down right there, speed limit.
Well, over in the Tanglewood area, we are getting a look at some damage and flooding there. Our Investigates producer, Jason Wen, sent this over. This is around the HEB near Fountain View Drive in San Felipe. Some people put topsoil in front of their garages to stop water from getting in.
Yeah, he also saw one home with a leaking pipe. I believe that's right here that looked like that pipe was leaking. There were also several shopping carts that got blown across the street. You know, as we mentioned to everyone, hey, if you've got loose items in your yard, patio furniture, bring it inside, secure it. This is why, you know, just things end up in where they're not supposed to be. These are across the street. He told us also that the power is out in that area as it is in a lot of places. The latest update, Sophia has a computer up right now, Centerpoint outages.
Yeah, this is the latest. It's 1,954,500 customers affected.
Wow. We're going to take a look now at some pictures and video that we're getting in from our Click to Pins app. This is in the downtown area. People there, you know, people were concerned and curious how a lot of those buildings that still had windows boarded up from the last event, how they were going to fare. This is what we're seeing right now, or when this viewer sent in this video. This video is from, see if we don't have a location here. That just says from viewer, Aldine area. This one's coming in from the Aldine area. And this says a big leg. You can just see some of these photos. High water up. Memorial Drive area here.
What is
that looks like a big
light?
transformer down, right? Or for a utility pole, some sort of, from a pole that fell over. And you can see, obviously, why it would be causing so many issues with power outages. This from Mike. You can see in somebody's yard, those trees just bending. Oh, and that one's snapping. This is from Jay Trevino, if I'm reading that correctly. But wow. I mean, just those winds so strong to see it just snap that tree right in half. Caroline, she's working right now on getting the very latest update as we are tracking Beryl's path. Caroline, are you ready for an update?
Absolutely. In fact, I think we should take our TransStar camera full. This is Highway 288 at 610 South. This is looking northbound. That car just drove into the water. I don't know if you can see, but on the right side, that's another vehicle that was stranded that's been filling up with water. And this white car has just driven in. They're still moving in the water there. A tense situation. They've just driven in there. This is what not to do. Highway 288, it is completely inundated with water. I don't know. Another vehicle to the right of it there? That's another vehicle to the right. So when we first saw the headlights coming, we thought, oh, is this water rescue coming? But now we can see that this is a truck that thought they could make it. And the thing is, it is so easy to misjudge the depth of water. They zoomed out the camera a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
You can see they're trying to get to the edge. A really tense situation right now. I don't know if the car is going to make it to the edge there.
I mean, look, in these situations, it's kind of too late for what do you do? But what do you do? I mean, you know, I'm sure it seems like can't tell if their wheels are touching the
He's still
pavement there.
Whoever's in there is still going, so maybe they figure I'm going to keep going as far as I can go and try to get over as far as possible if I can still keep moving.
There's not really an end in sight there. It's 288 is looking like an absolute lake right now.
Yeah.
But the car seems to have stopped moving.
You flooded out.
Yeah, Justin's saying that it definitely looks like that car is flooded out. And no surprise. I mean, we've had dozens of water rescues today. Unfortunately, this does happen. And ideally, everyone can hunker down, stay off the roads. We know our medical professionals, some folks still have to go into work. But if you can avoid it, please do. And if you are out there, when in doubt, find another route. This is never the way to go. We're continuing to watch that white car on the left side of the screen. And another thing to notice, you can see the wind pushing across the water. So that water's not just still, that's going to be water with a little bit of a current as well.
Right, pushing into the vehicle even stronger.
I mean, we know that our emergency officials and responders are obviously monitoring these same cameras and can look at these from the Office of Emergency Management just to see what is going on out on the roadways. And I don't know, you know, as we've been saying all morning, how long it takes somebody to get there to help, but we haven't seen anybody get out of that vehicle. And you saw the vehicle drive in.
We watched that vehicle drive in. We thought it was rescue for that other car that was stopped there in the water.
Yeah, and now that other car is several feet or, you know, behind on the opposite side of the screen there. It does look like, it does look like something is outside of the vehicle now. On the driver's side?
I couldn't agree more with that.
Yeah, so hopefully we're about to see somebody swim to the side.
Caroline, do you have any idea how deep this water is?
You know, it is so hard to tell with any of these highways because you can see there's a dip in the road right there. So that's why they have the markers underneath our highways. They'll measure out the feet. And it's measured in feet because we can get several feet of water. Just because we've only seen 9 inches of rain doesn't mean we can't see 36 inches of rain pooled up. It only takes 2 feet of moving water to float a truck. And in my opinion, I mean, it's hard to judge the depth of water, but I would say that looks certainly to be 2 feet of water.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, I ignore those things driving past them all the time. I mean, not in high water, but you just get used to seeing them there. And then you forget that under these underpasses and low-lying areas, just how much water can collect there and pull there.
8.5 inches closest gauge I can find there, Caroline.
Meteorologist Justin Stapleton just checked the closest rain gauge to this location. They saw 8.5 inches of rainfall there.
Okay.
So a tremendous amount of rain, gusty conditions.
Control of it.
Hopefully. So we actually don't have control of this TransStar camera here. This is run and operated by Houston TransStar. So the fact that they've been zooming in and changing the view of this does tell us that they are aware someone is trapped here. So that's certainly good news.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
They're monitoring the situation.
Yeah. I'm wondering if they have called 911 and are trying to get, some first responders to come out there and alert them of their situation.
Yeah, we're going to keep an eye on this, and we're going to continue to show you what is happening in other parts of the greater Houston area. Owen Conflinty is now at Galveston Strand. He is live there now and seeing some pretty bad street flooding. Is that right, Owen?
Yeah, I'm just checking my buttons here. Thanks for coming back to me, guys. I just wanted to show you. Everyone's been asking about the Strand, and it is what you would expect. As I switch the camera around to the front here, you see we're starting to drive through at least a few inches of water, and it gets to the point down here where it's about a foot deep, and then we can't tell how much deeper it goes. Mm-hmm. So you'll see us turning around up here, maybe another block or two. I don't know if you'll see it on this side camera, but some of the businesses that we're passing, they had... the camera shot's not great. Let me go back to this one. Some of the businesses we're passing, you can tell, they knew this was coming. They prepared. They put up their sandbags because the Strand tends to do this even with heavy rain. I mean, we've seen that without tropical storm conditions, but certainly with a Category 1 hurricane coming your way, these folks know what to expect. And this is about the place where we said, okay, we can see the yellow of the curb, and this is, we feel comfortable hugging the curb and driving because we know it's only a few inches deep. But then once you get up here beyond that flashing red light, there's a little bit of a current, and it's kind of hard to tell how deep it is. And we've decided this is about as far as we want to go for now. But if you'll hang with me, I can switch a camera. Sorry, I lost my microphone. I can flip that camera around if you want to do that, or I can get you another shot and come back to me. It's really whatever you guys have time for at this point.
Yeah, I mean, if you're able to switch it around, we'll stick with you. I mean, you can definitely see quite a bit of water there on the Strand.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he was saying, I mean, this area typically tends to do this even without, hurricane strength rain and winds in the area.
Without a ton. So we have cameras mounted to our storm trackers and our vehicles. And so then Owen can just switch these around. He's controlling it now to get us a different view of this street here, right along the Strand in Galveston. And now that's color bars. That's okay. Okay, we're back. Owen, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to catch up with Caroline real quick for an update, and we'll come back to you, okay?
That's right, because we continue to track Hurricane Beryl. In fact, we've been watching to see the latest 10 a.m. update. Justin, if we do have that 10 a.m. update, please let us know. Yeah. But we're watching as it dives its way to the north. Right now, we still have flash flood warnings in place. We can't stress this enough. We all watch together that car drive into the flooded roadway. These flash flood warnings means there is imminent danger. Do not get on the roads. Please avoid it if you can.
Now down to a tropical storm.
Good news, Beryl is now a tropical storm that really only has impacts for the winds. That means our winds are now less than 75 miles per hour. Still going to be gusty, still tropical storm force winds, but certainly good news seeing it decrease in strength. Now, that doesn't mean anything for rainfall. You can have a tremendous amount of rainfall even with a tropical storm. Think Allison. So unfortunately, it's not changing anything, but the good news is it's continuing to push its way to the north. In fact, you'll notice areas like Angleton and Lake Jackson, while they still have high water, conditions are starting to dry out, at least with rainfall, not really the storm surge. So let's take a closer look at what we're tracking here in the Houston area. Most of our activity now pushing to the far east side of town. So Galena Park down through Hobby Airport, Pasadena. I'm going to pause this right now so you can see exactly where it is. On the west side of town, mainly just light rain showers. This band currently pushing through the far east side of town all the way up from Friendswood over towards Channelview. over towards the Channel View area, continuing up Galena Park, Jacinto City, Humble, Kingwood, Bush, a very large rain band there that we're continuing to track here, even up towards Spring, the Woodlands. Now, one thing you'll notice, this is a torrential soaking rainfall. We're not seeing any lightning associated with this. That's what we expect to see when it comes to tropical systems, but certainly soaking rain. Roman Forest to Cleveland, the Woodlands up to Conroe, Panorama Village up towards Willis, even Huntsville getting some of those moderate downpours. Madisonville, one of our farthest northern spots here in southeast Texas, also seeing some pretty intense tropical downpours at this moment. So let's talk about how much rainfall we've seen. Rainfall totals out in Sugar Land has surpassed 9 inches, 9.2 inches in Sugar Land, over 4.5 inches here in Houston. If we take a look farther out, you'll notice Galveston over 2.5, Angleton over 4.5. But then take a look as we look further out, Katy over 6 inches, Bay City over 6.5. Estimates around Angleton and Lake Jackson, thank goodness they've calmed down, because we were showing radar estimates over 10 inches of rainfall. Thankfully, we will continue to see Beryl move its way to the north. In fact, take a look, by 3 o'clock, the heaviest of the rain pushing to our far northern counties. Now, we'll still see that center of the circulation bringing with it tropical storm force winds to areas like the Woodlands over towards Bryan College Station, Huntsville, Conroe, and then continuing to the north. By midnight tonight, we are going to be dry. Now, that doesn't mean that we couldn't still see some street flooding. We tend to see a lot of residual water on our roads, and that's going to be a concern, especially as Beryl goes to the north. Any rainfall that happens in North Texas, gravity is going to bring it back towards the Gulf, which means we can expect to see more flooding, especially out in Liberty, the Trinity River. We see flooding there very often. So right now, taking a look, the one silver lining of the power outage when it comes to current conditions is that our temperatures actually are decently comfortable outside. Now, inside your home, it's going to feel sticky. It's going to feel humid, but actual air temperature 75 in Angleton, Wharton 74. Here in Houston, still going to be in the 70s. So temperatures really ranging from the mid 70s to the lower 80s. So thankfully we're not quite as hot as we have been, but we're certainly still windy, because we can change this and show you current winds across the area. And this is showing here in Houston, 46 mile per hour winds, 45 mile per hour winds just to the south of Sugar Land. So widespread, we're still seeing heavy downpours. We're still seeing gusty winds out there. That means our risks not going to be lasting through the entire day, but certainly over the next 4 hours, 4 to 6 hours, we can continue to see these impacts, especially because we still do have that flash flood warning, our far northern one that's going to extend from San Jacinto County all the way down to Chambers County. This is in place until noon. Our flash flood warning for Houston, that has been extended until 1 o'clock this afternoon. And then Houston is 11 a.m. and 1 o'clock is for the Woodlands. But regardless, you need to take precautions. If you can stay off the road today, I would completely recommend it. Justin?
All right, thanks a lot, Caroline. Yeah, let's certainly talk about that. I've got new Click 2 pins coming in, and want to get an idea of what those are. Actually, I'm going to start with this first. I forgot I started with this before we get to Click 2 pins. Here's the new advisory. The new track does not come out until 3 o'clock this afternoon, but at this point, we know where the track's going, out of here over the next couple of hours. So right now, it has picked up a little bit of forward momentum. We're north-northeast at around 13 miles an hour, and the pressure is slowly starting to rise again as well, back up to 984. That's certainly good news. The max wind down to 70 miles an hour. So it is just below Category 1 hurricane strength. Still packing a pretty good punch, though. Certainly something that we'll be watching very carefully here over the next 2 to 3 hours. New Click 2 pins are rolling in. Thank you so much for sending those. Here's where you go. If you happen to do them safely, please. Click to Houston.com/pins. Let me show you a couple of these. This is from one of our users out in the Woodlands. He said the tree went down in their backyard, narrowly missing the transformer. That's good news. Hopefully they still have power. And missing his neighbor's pool as well. This is a tree that's in Montrose. That's over at the intersection of Mandel and Marshall. If you're familiar with where that is, looks like a good chunk of that tree just snapped right off. And obviously not only that, but you see the flooding right across both of the intersections of Mandel and Marshall there as well. So that's up in Montrose. And then this is over in Edo, some of the new construction. There's an enormous amount of new construction over on the east side and East End in particular, if you get up near Navigation and some of those neighborhoods. But right here as well, looks like the wind tore that up pretty good. So that's going to take a little bit of cleanup. And then, of course, finally, this is from Seabrook. This is Blue Dolphin Marina in Seabrook at 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. So we were getting into high tide this morning, and you see things just kind of sliding on in here as well. So this is certainly something that we're going to watch. Thankfully, over the next couple of hours, as the storm moves north, I expect most of the bay to have this water start to recede fairly quickly. So hopefully, if you got a chance to, kind of turn that on, we'll see what it looks like. Let me turn on the Galveston air. Caroline, you want to hit that Galveston camera for me, please? You get a sec? Thank you. I just want to see what it looks like. You saw Owen a second ago that was driving over towards the Strand that's now starting to see some problems. Here's what it looks like. This is the surf cam, and we've already seen some of the water back off as the storm is lifting north, and those rain bands that were really just pressing all of that water in from the south starting to back off just a bit. Still very angry, and I expect this to continue to at least make it up to the seawall, but we're not seeing those waves just crashing into the seawall like they were about, 5, 6 a.m. this morning when we first talked to Owen. He was out there right before sunrise. So that's good news. As far as the wave heights, those are slowly starting to come down as well. Down around Matagorda, wave heights are already back down to about 4 to 5 feet. So great news for folks down that way, Port O'Connor, Port Lavaca, Palacios, down towards Seadrift, that are finally getting a bit of a break. Still looking at some pretty elevated wave heights here from Surfside, just offshore towards Galveston, around 11 feet. And then, of course, pushing that water in still across the bay at about 9 feet. So it's going to be very angry over the next couple of hours here. As Caroline mentioned, this is what it looks like. But you see the intensity. And Sophia mentioned this or asked me this question last time when we were talking about the radar and said, are any of these bands intensifying? And the answer to that is yes. This one in particular is intensifying. But if I put this in motion here over the last hour, watch what happens. This actually starts to fade and slide on through, and meaning that we're not going to necessarily see that take a hit towards Galveston. All of this because of the forward momentum of the storm itself is pulling everything away into the east, kind of unwinding, if you want to think of it that way. And so what we're seeing is this storm system that's continuing to slide off to the east here. So I think this band in particular will probably push over across parts of Sabine Pass and then moving on over in towards the southwestern parish of Louisiana. So not our issue, which is certainly good news for our friends over in Louisiana. Probably going to have a bit of a rocky afternoon for a good chunk of the areas. Meanwhile, on the backside of this, we're starting to see these flash flood warnings be replaced by aerial flood advisories. Let me put a stop on this here just so we get a sense of what we're seeing. There's aerial flood advisory in Fort Bend County till 11. Same thing as you get 2 o'clock. That's for parts of Brazoria County. And then if we widen out and go up to the north here, notice we still have these flash flood warnings out across parts of Harris County, and that goes until 11 o'clock. Now, the storm itself is eventually pushing north and east, and what we'll see with this is this band right here is continuing to slide across Pasadena, right around Deer Park, and into Baytown as well. Still probably some decent winds with that, but the winds have been backing off, as Caroline mentioned. And right now, most of the threat for heavy rain is going to be sliding up here across parts of Montgomery County and moving into the Lake Livingston area as well. So the threat is moving northward, guys. What we're going to be watching over the next couple of hours is vast improvement along the coast. We'll finally start to see things drain a little bit as we get across much of the metro, but it is going to take 2 to 3 hours. I'm watching that gentleman did get out of the truck, and he's sitting on top of the roof right now. If you want to take that text dot shot, just to let everybody know if you're watching us a few seconds ago, he is, or at least appears to be, okay. And there comes the fire crew. He's just waiting to be rescued at this point, and not to sort of add insult to injury. If you've lost your truck, I understand that's really unfortunate, but a truck can be replaced. Your life cannot. This is why we say, and Justina hammers this every single time, do not mess around with these floodwaters. You don't know how deep it is. I don't care if you have a truck. I don't care if you have a monster truck. don't mess with this stuff. And, 8.5 inches, Justina, was the closest I could find in terms of the gauge. But clearly, we're talking a couple of feet of rain right there.
Oh, boy. I mean, you can see how high the water is, especially because before we could see more of those blinkers on the truck. And at this point, you can kind of barely see them as that water sways back and forth against the truck itself. And then not only that, I was checking out this camera earlier before this truck even came into play, and then there was another car kind of stranded underneath the bridge here. You can still kind of see somewhat of the car at the top, but that car is still sitting there underneath that bridge in addition to some of those stalls. So hopefully there's help on the way when it comes to this guy who was stalled out. But just look at the massive amount of water on the roadways. I know where I'm from in Baltimore, we don't see this too often, and this is not something, if you do see this here in Houston, that you want to travel and head towards. It looks like we got fire trucks kind of in that area. So hopefully we will have some help on the way. As they're working towards that area, I'll talk about some other high water spots, and then we'll go back to that camera just to kind of check in. So if you're traveling on the west side, the West Park Tollway heading eastbound at Beltway 8, that exit ramp is closed because of high water. And then if we're moving closer to that loop this morning, the Southwest Freeway at Dunlavy, another area with a massive amount of water in those main lanes, so that those right lanes as well as those center lanes, it looks like one lane was getting by, but because of the weather, because of how high these winds are, a lot of those cameras have been knocked out. So I don't have a camera in that spot for you because of the wind. Zooming back over again, 288 heading southbound at 610 is where you will see that high water spot. But we got a lot of high water spots if you're traveling in on 288, especially as you head towards 59. So I would say stay off of it altogether if you can. The Katy Freeway heading eastbound at Houston Avenue, I kind of talked about that one already. And then if you're traveling on the east side, we got more closures because of high water. So stay off the roads, folks. Washburn Tunnel heading northbound at Red Bluff, closed. 225 eastbound at Ritchie Street. If you have to head out to LaPorte, just stay home. I will stress again, if you do see high water on the roadways, turn around, don't drown. Try to stay off the roads if you can. Make sure you keep your headlights on, avoid using your cruise control, and then slow down to avoid hydroplaning. I know when we spoke with AAA this morning, he kind of gave some of those good tips. And if you do head out and you start to hydroplane, make sure you do not jam on those brakes. It could get very dangerous. Be sure to keep a safe distance in between you and the next car. But again, if you see any of those high water spots, get off the roadways.
All right. Hey, Justina, can we see that TransStar camera? Can you tell what's happening there with the fire truck? We do want to go to TJ. It looks like, okay, we just wanted to keep track on that and make sure we don't.
Particular spot, but again, we do still see that person on top of the truck. So the hope is that help is on the way pretty soon for them.
Yeah, they've seen it.
It looks like they're still there.
Widened out.
There. And I'm sure they're probably trying to map out a good plan to get them out, because that water is pretty high. It looks like the car itself is a truck, so it's higher off the ground, but you see how high that water is and how it keeps swaying back and forth towards the truck. So in order to make sure they get that person out safely and get themselves out safely, I'm sure it's going to take a little time, but these guys are trained to do this.
Yeah, and you can see the camera just shaking. That wind is probably out there still what's causing that.
Yes, exactly. So at one point, this camera was down. I kept checking back in on it because the camera was down because of that wind in that area, and that's what we're seeing with a lot of these TransStar cameras. The state cameras, they're down because of how heavy the winds are, how hard the winds are blowing. So hopefully we can kind of stay on this and the wind won't knock it out. But it looks like they are working on a plan to get this guy some help.
Yeah.
And hopefully he's okay. He or she is okay.
I mean, in this, I don't know what I was thinking. I'm thinking they're going to take out a raft, but I mean, then what good would that do? They have to get down this slope
get down
and somehow get to him in the water and get him up. So we're going to see if we can kind of stay here and watch this as it happens. We as you guys know, we have crews all over and are keeping tabs on everything happening right now. Mm-hmm. Justin and Caroline are monitoring the weather situation. Yeah. But
I think they'll probably take like some kind of a rappel. Right. And they'll probably create some kind of a human chain or so. So you get like, couple guys, and you use the grass because it'll be less slick than the cement. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So take, I don't know. Or, well, it looks like maybe they may be swinging the ladder out there, and then just drop a drop a pickup to him have them grab it and then just lift them up.
Ladder coming out. And
That's what it looks like. Yeah, it looks like they're going to bring the ladder out and then maybe drop it to them and have them grab it.
I mean, look, it was very early this morning. I mean, I say very early when Corley was on with Fire Chief Sam Pena out of the Houston Office of Emergency Management. And he said at that point they had 23 high water rescues.
That sounds right. It's a little over 24, yeah.
Yeah, it was before, well before. It was like in the 7 a.m. hour, 6 a.m. hour. Something
Yeah, it was before sunrise.
But then if you can imagine, if each rescue is taking this amount of time, I mean, just the resources that it takes to, you know, that's what they're there for. But I mean, obviously,
then it's their risk and they're taking the risk to come and get you.
And the good thing about these Houston TransStar cameras is that they probably noticed this well before this person called this in because they have people working around the clock monitoring these cameras. So just like we were able to see that car kind of driving into the water, they were able to see this. So I'm sure they kind of called them ahead of time and said, hey, look, this car is now stuck in the water.
Right, we need to get somebody out there. Okay, so
now you see a firefighter. First responder walking down the concrete side of that hill, possibly, you know, making communication there and trying to figure out exactly the best way to get this person off the roof of that vehicle and to safety.
Well, and like we were talking a second, I'm sorry, Sophia, I'm going to cut you off there. Justine and I were talking just a bit ago, you know, the closest gauge I could find was just west of 288 and 610. That's on the south loop there. Right. That's going northbound, by the way. And so I've been on that road and it dips pretty significantly underneath 610, right? Because that's 288 that you're looking at right there, that north and southbound side. In the latest, or I should say the closest gauge I could find was about 8.5 inches. So again, that's 8.5 inches of rain, but that's in one spot on a gauge. Now take 8.5 inches of rain everywhere and then put it in a point where it all spills into one spot.
Right.
That's what we're running into. You know, that if that's, I don't know, we'll call it an F-150 or whatever it is, you know, the flatbed or the top of the hood on that truck is probably 4 feet, right? Easy. Unless it's a tiny little truck, but it looked like it was
it's a
fairly sizable, right? So if that's the case, then you're looking at least 4 feet of water, you know, and Caroline mentioned this too, and Justina, you say it all the time. It only takes a foot to maybe, you know, a foot of water to move a car, 2 feet of water to move a truck. Well, double it. There you go.
Right. I mean, I'm glad that the truck now is somewhat stationary, so it can stay in that spot.
Well, and that was my concern, Amy, is that it was going to start to just drift, and this poor guy was going to get stuck, and who knows where it would have ended up. At that point.
I mean, talk about tense moments, because Caroline watched on the TransStar camera right before her weather hit. She said, wait a minute, wait.
He's driving right into it.
He's driving out. This pickup truck drive into this high water, and literally you could see.
And there's already a submerged car on the right side.
Yeah, she thought that that truck was coming to help that car off to the right underneath the bridge.
Right.
But until it just kept going, and then now we see the person on the roof, and they're both stuck there. So.
Well, and it's interesting. I know they won't swing it over, but I'd be curious to see if the Harris County Sheriff's Department doesn't have this blocked off at this point on both the southbound to northbound side, right, and the other side, just to kind of let people know, like, hey, you cannot do this. We've already got 2 cars now in the water, and in the active water rescue, which we're watching right now.
I mean,
water looks like
it looks swift.
Oh yeah,
it doesn't look like this is just rainwater. It looks like it's moving.
Yeah.
I mean, the camera itself is moving too, so that's how you know the wind is really kind of hitting them in that area.
That's a great point. Yeah, it's just, you know, I mean, we've seen this so many times, and thankfully this one has a happy ending. I remember, unfortunately, during Harvey, there was one that Dominique and Bill Baez and I were watching.
Drove into the
that drove right into it over near Post Oak, and she didn't make it out. You know, and it's just heartbreaking when you see stuff like this. But that's, you know, we don't want to sound like a broken record, but the reason we see this is, you know, and you said it, I thought you made a great point, Amy, is that we drive past these, you know, flood gauges all the time. But if it's dry, you never pay attention to it because it doesn't really matter. But there's a reason why they have them in the, you know, quote unquote hot spots for flooding when we have scenarios like this, because this is the type of thing that can happen.
You can see him just sort of chilling out. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't feel like he's chilling out right now.
Right.
But, you know, waiting for them to be able to throw him something, go out and give him a hand.
Yeah, something that's coming off that top ladder maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. And this is, you know, we had Bryce on a little bit ago, and he had that road where the lady had her car flooded out, right? And the water had gone down but she still had water in the floorboard, right? And that was a scenario where it probably was just, I don't know, maybe 6 inches, right? Got into the floorboard, you get spooked and you get out. I get it. This is different. This, you look at that. I mean, you said a second ago, there are white caps in that right now. That's a lake, right?
Does it look like there's a firefighter kind of scaling the top of the ladder?
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah, there's another one behind him too.
Okay.
Yeah. So
And maybe what they're doing is just drop something to him when you get out there.
yeah, I was like, yeah, because what are we doing then? I mean, this is going to be quite the rescue. They have to drop something from the end of that ladder.
I would think so, yeah, just to pick
And
him
I'm
up.
sure that ladder is also swaying back and forth.
Yeah.
Not, stable in any way.
Yeah, this is, and so we said, we're glad this gentleman hopefully is okay without any, serious injuries. Seems like he is if he's just kind of sitting there waiting to be rescued. But, cannot stress enough. We've seen this so many times over the years where people they think, I got it. I'm in a truck. I can do it. I can do it.
Just so close.
And then they can't do it.
Yeah. So I mean, guys, are those firefighters on that ladder or underneath? They're on.
It looks like they're on it.
It looks like they're on it. I think the good thing here is that this person was able to get out the car and get on top of the roof.
Right.
Because a lot of times people don't know what to do in those situations. They open the door and the water comes
Starts rushing in.
Or the door doesn't open.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, that's why. Yeah.
You got to roll down that window and climb out.
Yeah. So we wanted to be able to see, because I know whenever we first saw this and we thought, wait, nobody's getting out of that vehicle. We wanted to see this through and see this.
Well, we thought at one point he might make it, as he kept going, that he would have made it to the edge. We were hoping.
That's what I think he was trying to do, is to try to get over. But again, you don't know how high that edge is.
Right.
And he probably was trying to do that to at least get to the point where he could jump and then get on the grass to try to get out. But as you know, once engines are engines.
Yeah.
They're combustion engines, and once you put water in a combustion engine, it no longer is an engine.
Yeah.
It's now just a big piece of metal.
And I'm glad the truck is actually staying put and not going with the current or the flow of the water
moving
either.
Yeah, I mean, you can start to see traffic above, on the bridge above the overpass. I mean, more cars out and about. So like you said, Justin, I do hope that they've been able to get out and put barricades up in those spots.
I would hope so too, yeah, because this, especially as we get, and that's a great point, Amy. I want to touch on that for a second, especially as we get to this afternoon and things are starting to improve. Everybody is itching to get out of the house and try to figure out what's going on. What does my neighborhood look like? Or if I've got things I got to do this afternoon, you said it was going to be gone this afternoon, Stapes. Is it gone? Okay, great. But this is still out there.
Yeah.
Right? Even if the rain is gone, bless you.
Thank you.
That may be something that we're still dealing with, is flooding for the next 4 to 5, 6 hours. I wouldn't be shocked in some of these spots.
And Justin, is it possible that the water is getting a little higher, because it looks like we can no longer see those headlights? Yeah,
it's possible. There could be, I don't know what kind of drainage system that has down there, or just, if we've got a potential for some.
We've lost it.
Lapping of the rain and the wind out ahead of the truck. Yeah, it could be pushing a little more water right on top of there.
Yeah.
At that point, but
Oh, darn.
I know. Hopefully we'll check back.
I know. We
Yeah,
lost
here.
that video stream right now, but we are going to stay on top and make sure that we get information to you about this rescue if we don't get that stream back up to get it recorded. Obviously, very tense, very scary. I mean, if you were caught in that, and that's sort of what you got to think about if you do come across high water, that could be the scenario.
Yeah, that is the Highway 288 at 610. You can just see how much water is in that spot there, and that truck driver just kept going.
Yeah, these high water spots all over. Right now, we want to go out to TJ Parker. He is in the Meadows Place area.
Yes, West Bell.
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, I was just listening into your guys' coverage on that gentleman on 288 there, talking about the high water. You're talking about Bryce had a similar story where he is, and we're in Meadows Place right now on West Belfort. We have watched several people go through the road here. Fortunately, here we have not seen too many people get stuck, but we have seen a lot of people going through here. And as you saw that guy on 288, not really a good idea to do that. Even though you think you're in a truck, it might be able to make it through. We have not seen any issues here yet, but that doesn't mean that we won't, because the water, if you look further back here on West Belfort, is still pretty high. We've seen trucks go through, but we have seen other cars stop and turn around, and that really is what you should be doing if you see any type of water on the road. The other issue that we're seeing right now is the rain isn't too terrible. We just picked up some rain here in the past few minutes or so, but we've had some really heavy gusts, and Justin could probably answer some more questions I have with that, but just in the past maybe 20-30 minutes or so, you can see just these bursts, gusts of winds that are just coming and hitting us here, and we have not seen that up until just recently. So that is something that we're experiencing here in Meadows Place. Probably has something also to do with the water in the street here. You look at this guy, he has a pretty big vehicle here, so he's making it through, and actually the water has gone down quite a bit since we found this place. But we actually found this place because if you were watching a little while ago, we were at another location in Meadows Place, and you heard from a gentleman who was driving around trying to find gas. You heard from him. He actually came back and found us and told him that he actually was a little bit further down here on Belfort, and he actually got out of his car and helped a man whose car got stuck here. So that is indeed something that is happening here. But again, guys, as you have been talking about with that situation going on 288 and Bryce over where he is, a lot of folks, again, going through these flooded streets here, just not a very good idea to be doing at all.
You don't know how high that water could be, and then it's just too late once you're stuck in it. All right, TJ, thank you for that update there.
In the Meadows Place area. Now Bryce Newberry has moved over somewhere in West Houston. I'm going to let you tell us where you are, Bryce, but there's a fire, or was a fire at a flea market there?
Yeah, Amy and Sophia, firefighters got called here about 40 minutes ago, they tell us. We are just south of Richmond Avenue, a little bit north of the Southwest Freeway. You can see firefighters are still here at the flea market, putting out some hot spots. You can see about 4 units that were damaged, and what firefighters are telling us right now is that they believe this is an electrical related fire, possibly a power line that came down and then sparked this. Actually, just while we were waiting to go live, we saw some sparks coming out over to the left of this fire. You can see several crews that still remain on scene, and the firefighter who we just spoke with off camera told me that they are now waiting on Centerpoint to come out here. This area doesn't appear to have power right now. However, they do think that some of the lines here, and you can see a lot of them in this area, may still be energized. So right now, fire crews have kind of sectioned off that area as they now wait for Centerpoint crews to get out here and make sure all of the lines are de-energized. But what I can tell you is that no one was injured in this fire. The fire crews say that it was actually called in by someone who was driving by, possibly from the Southwest Freeway, and saw the smoke coming from this area. And then there are a lot of people who have come out of their homes in the neighborhood nearby, just everyone here kind of keeping an eye on what they can. But again, no one was injured, and that is a good sign. Fire crews, though, are still doing a little bit of work here. Do we need to move back? Okay, we're good right here. So that's what we know right here from West Houston, Amy and Sophia.
That is some good news that at least no one was hurt there. Bryce, thank you so much. We'll check back in with you soon. And I want to give you an update here on how many customers are now without power. This just refreshed.
Yep.
More than 2 million people are without power.
Yeah.
Centerpoint Energy.
Yeah, I was going to just say that. Yeah, to Kate. Yeah, so they've got him harnessed up, and so they're bringing him on.
They were talking about the guy who was on 288.
Yeah.
Video, or
I don't know. Let's see if we can grab it right now.
Yeah.
But anyway, he is safe. I promise. He's good. Yeah, we saw him.
We just wanted to see it. Just
yeah, well, I know. We want to make sure everybody's okay, right? Please don't do that. Can't stress enough. Please don't do that.
2.1 million people without power.
Nuts.
Haven't we now exceeded the number of people who didn't have power in derecho?
We have, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's where I was going to go. It's like you set me up there, Amy. Well done. Yeah, we did. Here's the thing, though, is it remember that the derecho had less than, I think it was like 1.5 million or something like that. But we were talking about, full infrastructure rebuild because it was damaged so significantly. I think a lot of what we're seeing with these, and I don't want to minimize any of this here, but I think a lot of what we're seeing with some of these are breakers that got tripped, transformers that got popped real quick, and they're all sort of the kill switches, right? And so they'll go in and should be able to turn those on fairly quickly.
Okay.
We hope so.
We hope so, right? And it's not going to be for everybody. I don't want to be Pollyannic about this here, right?
Yeah.
That's not going to be it. But I don't know that we're looking at something that's going to last like 2 weeks to a month, like what we saw with the derecho, right? There will still be some spots that unfortunately are going to take a while for that to happen. But I would be willing to bet that once the storm goes out, and here's the other reason too, is because aside from some of the minor damage we're seeing, crews will be able to get out to some of these spots very quickly versus, we were talking about significant power lines that were down. Remember the active lines that were on the North Loop that shut it down for hours?
Right.
So crews couldn't even get in there at that point. So I don't know that that'll be the case, but we'll see. I'm going to go glass half full on this here. Hopefully for all of you that do not have power, if you're watching us now either on your laptop or if you're watching on your phone or if you're watching on an iPad, thank you for staying with us. I really do appreciate that as well. And at the end of this here, I'm going to actually show what the weather is for the next 3 days. I know we've completely ignored the 10-day forecast, but this was the most immediate need. Now that we're starting to slowly back things down, I think we can get back into that as well. We'll do that over the next couple of hours here. Here's the newest advisory. It is now down to a tropical storm, so that's certainly good news. Notice that the icon has changed. It is no longer that thick red. Now it has the donut hole in the center. That's an indicator of a tropical storm just to the west of Bush Intercontinental. So that's going to continue to move north at around 13 miles an hour. And the max winds right now are still at about 70 miles an hour as well. Our Galveston cameras have been kind of struggling all day today, but just trust me, it's still very frothy down there. Owen can tell you that. They've been driving around, but this is an improvement too. Last time I talked to you, our wave heights were at 9 and 11 to 12 feet. They're now down to 8 to 10. So an indicator as that storm kind of pulls and it takes all of those heavy rain bands away from us, we'll start to see some of the flooding that we saw in the bay eventually slide back on down into the Gulf. It's going to take a couple of hours for that to happen, but at least I think by late afternoon, we're going to be looking at a much different and much better picture for Seabrook, LaPorte, Bayou Vista, all of these areas that have been seeing some flooding today. Love to see this, that there is nobody out there on the Southwest Freeway. This is our Empower Pharmacy camera from right here at the KPRC 2 studios. And the feeder roads at this point, this is right outside of the station here. That's Bissonnette and Gessner. So Gessner's back over this way. But it looks like these feeders are okay for folks that if you are and you do have to get out or for whatever reason you need to get something very quickly to a gas station or an area that's open, looks like at this point that you certainly can do that. So that's certainly good news. We'll take that. Caroline, do you want to throw that connector on for me, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you. I forgot I turned that off. We've got a tornado warning over towards Beaumont, so I want to start with that just to get an idea of what we're seeing. Other than that, most of what we've got out here is still these flash flood warnings that you see across a chunk of the area from the Woodlands down towards Pearland were placed south of there with aerial flood advisories. Look at this right here. I'm going to put this in motion because this I think is important to see. This heavy rain band. During Harvey, this is what we were tracking all through the night. Frank and I, well, it was that Friday night. And this was located right here from Lake Jackson, and it was ripping away across parts of Fort Bend County around Needville, Sienna, Thompsons were getting hit with wave after wave of not only heavy rain, but there were multiple tornado warnings that were popping out with that. I remember it distinctly that night. Thankfully, we're not seeing that now. And in fact, notice as we go west of the storm here, let me back this out and kind of slide over this way, from College Station over to Navasota, the center of the storm, and I'm going to put that in quotations because there's not much left of it at this point, is right about here, Northwest Harris County. So if you jump in a little tighter, Cypress, y'all are in the eye, or what's left of the eye at this point. Still looking at probably some gusty conditions here from Rosenberg, Sugar Land, Mission Bend, over to West U, moving on up into the Heights, where we have seen some damage from Montrose up towards 26th Street. But in terms of the heaviest rainfall at this point, now that's starting to thin out, thankfully, right outside of Channelview towards Pasadena. There's Galena Park, and then over towards Taylor, Clear Lake, and League City as well. So all of these areas from LaPorte to Baytown to Clear Lake on down towards Kemah and Dickinson, all of that water that's been pushed in is going to start to recede, but it will take a couple of hours for that to happen. So just be patient if you can. Sliding over towards Winnie, notice that the heavy rain, and right now we've got a tornado warning. Let me put a stop on that for folks. If you've got friends out that way, Southern Liberty County or just to the west of Beaumont, as you slide over onto the East Freeway there, that's for Jefferson County, and that's until 11 o'clock. It's going to be probably very similar to all of these. These seem there is some rotation to this, but we're just not seeing anything that would attend to at this point of a major tornado outbreak. We're definitely not seeing that, and thankfully all of this continues to press northward too. So if I put this back in motion here, over the last hour, notice that all of this is sliding north at about 12 miles an hour. So we're almost done. A couple more hours of this, and we should be A-OK once this is out of here. That'll have a much better looking forecast. In fact, a second ago, Caroline showed you the future track here. I'll show it again if you missed it. Most of this by 2, 3 o'clock will be sliding up across parts of Madisonville, sliding over towards Trinity, Crockett areas, Nacogdoches, over to Lufkin, down to Beaumont and Port Arthur, and then up to Tyler. And then once this gets caught, there's a trough, sort of a dip in the jet stream up here across northern Texas. And so this is why the storm is not going to get blocked. Remember, during Harvey, we had an area of high pressure here. We had an area of high pressure here. And then we had the trough way to the north. And so all of that got blocked. That big high that was in West Texas for Harvey is over in Las Vegas. It was 120 degrees in Las Vegas yesterday. So that's where it is. So there's just nothing but a highway for this thing to get caught up in. And once it does, by Monday into Tuesday, it's long gone. There's a chance that we could get some of these outer bands to refire by late tomorrow afternoon. So I don't want to say that we're out of the woods just yet, but I think a majority of that will be down around the coast by tomorrow afternoon and into tomorrow evening. So we'll kind of watch that in terms of the rainfall. I'm going to keep it at 40% for now. Notice we'll be back up into the upper 80s. And then by Wednesday, just sort of your typical quick downpour or two, back into the low 90s. The heat and humidity will be back. And it looks like our rain chances, Caroline, are going to go down significantly as we get to the end of the week. And here's the best news of all. Just did a quick check. I thought, hey, let's find out. What does the National Hurricane Center say for the next 7 days? All quiet out there in the tropical Atlantic.
I mean, goodbye and good riddance. That probably means tropical dust, but that's a problem for the future. Right now, our big issue is going to be the heavy rainfall and the damaging winds. It's a really dangerous combination. Take a look at this. This was sent in by Hayden Dale. That's in the Pine Shadows neighborhood. This is on Sage Road near the bayou on the north side of Woodway. This here is an enormous tree, over a foot in diameter. And you can see it's just absolutely crushed that Jeep. So unfortunately, we're kind of seeing a 1-2 punch. We have about 5 to 10 inches of rainfall. That's really wet the soil. That means tree roots not quite as sturdy. And then you have winds gusting up to 90 miles per hour. That combination allows these large trees to get uprooted and blown over. So unfortunately, this is what we've been seeing across the Houston area. In fact, let's talk more about those wind speeds, because not everyone is seeing the rainfall anymore. In fact, if we continue to look at the radar, you'll notice most of the rainfall is going to be on the northeast side of town. In fact, areas like Sugar Land, you're already seeing a break from the rain. But that's only half of the picture. The other half is what you can't see as easily on radar. That's going to be the winds. In fact, you can see over towards Katy, where we have this clearing, that's the eye. And around the eye wall, that's where we have our strongest winds. So I want to talk about the winds because this is a very concerning part. We've heard of several large trees coming down. So if you're not staying off the road because of the flooding, stay off the roads because of the trees and all of the debris. Right now, wind speeds, this is sustained winds, 46 miles per hour in Houston, 40 in Crosby, Waller, 35 miles per hour, but the winds are gusting significantly stronger. In fact, right now in Clear Lake, 61 mile per hour wind gusts. At last check, by the way, Clear Lake, about 5.5 feet higher than it typically sits. As for Houston, an 82 mile per hour gust, 67 in Bel Air, Tomball 44. So this is why we're seeing such widespread problem with power outages. With this gusty of winds, trees are certainly coming down. More widespread, you can see that circulation is going to be on the far northwest side of Harris County. Conroe seeing wind gusts just shy of 70 miles per hour. One thing that's good to see, Seadrift now only seeing gusts of 21, Palacios 32. That's close to where we saw landfall this morning. So conditions there getting better in terms of wind and rain, but unfortunately along the coast, storm surge still going to be a big concern. As for our wind gusts, you'll notice as they track their way to the north with Tropical Storm Beryl at 6 o'clock, Bay City and Palacios Winds much more calm. We'll still be seeing gusts up to 30 here in Houston. But then as we go into the overnight, 10, 11 p.m. here in Houston, winds will become much more calm. Our far northeast locations, those are going to continue to see gusty conditions, but it should get better. Hey, speaking of things to update you on, we do have a new tornado watch. Previously, our tornado watches expired at 10 a.m. The National Weather Service decided to reissue this. That's going to be for our northern counties and areas to our east. So this tornado watch in place through 10 p.m. this evening. Amy, Sophia, we're certainly going to be keeping a close eye for any rotation in those outer rain bands.
Absolutely. We are keeping a close eye. And Owen Conflenti has been in Galveston all morning long, started at midnight to check on conditions there. You were at the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and now you're along the Strand still. Owen, can you tell us what you're seeing there? It looks like big damage to a business.
Well, yeah, I think what you're seeing is our mast camera on top of our truck, because it's one of the few left that's working this morning that we have with us. So we're at Sealy Avenue and Rosenberg Avenue, which is just a couple blocks off Broadway and just a few blocks from the Strand. So we're just a few blocks away from the flooding I showed you a moment ago. We were on our way back to Broadway just to cruise down to the east end of the island when we saw another, this is a building under construction, but another storefront where the window just got blown out of the place. So we thought this was a good spot to stop and give you a little glimpse of some of the damage that we continue to see around the island. Now, again, we're not talking major damage, but if this is your building, maybe this is major to you, right? Everyone has a different perspective on that. And obviously just the debris that's kicking around here, I mean, you can just see it with the water that has receded, it's all collected along the curb. So you're still going to find quite a few of these drainage ditches that are going to be backed up. They'll still have some standing water for a little while. But honestly, I've already seen a handful of folks on their bicycles surveying the neighborhood. We've seen people cleaning up. Here's someone right here. How you doing today? You doing okay? All right. Stay safe out there.
Yeah, it seems like things
New
have
Orleans
definitely
Saints fan
calmed
based
down.
on the sticker on his truck. So yeah, guys, I wanted to pop in and give you a little sample of what we're seeing out here as we continue to drive around the island.
Yeah, definitely. We can see there. You can see the debris and stuff and tree branches, leaves from, all of the wind, obviously, in addition to that window. But you can see them there piled up on the curb. But it's nice to not see water pooling there. And all the neighbors are like, now, what are you doing here?
That's true. But right. But then you just go a few blocks down. Of course, I think everybody knows the Strand floods. And a lot of the businesses had already sandbagged up their doors and whatnot. But yeah, definitely, to those BOIers born on the island, this is your average start to the hurricane season, I guess. I'm not really sure how to frame that. But a lot of folks do not seem bothered at all because, again, there's not widespread damage. There are places, but it's not all over. So.
Right. And you're showing them to us. We appreciate that shot there on Sealy. In the Galveston area. And Bill Spencer is also in Galveston now. Is he Galveston or Jamaica Beach right now? He's in Galveston.
Yeah, he's in Galveston, and we do have a confirmed tornado there. Bill, what can you show us?
Well, it's right behind me. This is a house that is located in the Bay Harbor neighborhood, completely destroyed, just wiped out. All of this took place about 1:30 this morning. Neighbors say it was definitely a tornado. It's been a confirmed tornado. Blew through here. This is a subdivision of about 90 different homes, and several of them are heavily damaged. This one is the worst. We talked to a couple of gentlemen who have lived in this neighborhood for several years now. They were here riding out the storm when the tornado hit. Let's hear from them right now. We have a soundbite. Where is it? Please roll the sound bites. You don't have it. Okay. Let's go over here. This is Christopher Norsworthy. He has lived here also for, 25 years, right, Chris?
25 years on the island.
Yeah, and you helped build a lot of these homes.
I did. I'm actually in construction.
Were you here last night?
I was.
What when the tornado came through, roughly 1:30? What was it like?
It was rough.
Describe it for me, please.
Howling winds, people's houses flying by your house, roofs ripped off, power lines are down everywhere. They said it was a Cat 1. I don't know. I mean,
how's your home doing?
God bless me.
You're okay.
God bless me.
And nobody got injured in this thing? At your household?
Not in my household, but I've got a lot of friends who's going to be displaced.
I see. And who's this? Who's the man with you?
Wayne Stringer.
Wayne Stringer.
Yes,
Wayne,
sir.
do you live here also?
I was born and raised down here on the Gulf Coast. We live right down here in Seattle.
Okay. All right.
And, our house is pretty much undamaged, but 3 blocks away, a buddy of ours' house, it peeled the roof all the way off of it. I mean, there's literally no roof left on the house.
The destruction really is amazing, everybody. I got to tell you that on our way over here, as you drive down Farm to Market Road 3005, there are power poles. I counted more than 40 power poles that are snapped in half like toothpicks, laying on the ground, some of them completely flat on the ground. Many, I don't even know how many power lines are draped across the street. We were terrified when we drove through here because we're afraid if we hit one of those lines, we might, barbecue ourselves, electrocute ourselves. But luckily the power was out, so we didn't have any problem with that. But again, yeah, I mean, as you drive down Farm to Market Road 3005, it is just littered with down power lines, power poles. There is damage, widespread damage from all the way from Jamaica Beach to where we are right here in the Bay Harbor neighborhood. And listen, God bless you guys.
Thank you, Bill.
I'm glad to
continue to do your good work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Continue to do that.
Thank you, Chris. You're a sweetheart, man.
I don't know about a sweetheart. But
Sorry.
I appreciate people to do well.
Thank you.
To try to help other people.
Thank you, man.
Big deal, man. It's a big deal.
You're the best. You're the best. Thank you, man. Seriously. Thank
Y'all
you,
be
sir.
safe out there today.
You bet. You bet.
Hey, Bill, just
So
because
yeah, that is a look.
just because we're talking about a possible tornado, I mean, you're saying tornado, that's what it looks like. We want to make sure we get the location correct. Bay Harbor is the name of the neighborhood you said, and it's in Jamaica Beach?
Yeah. No, it is not in Jamaica Beach. It is in Galveston.
Okay,
it is
sorry.
Bay Harbor subdivision. It's the Bay Harbor subdivision. And the street that we're on is Port Trinidad. Port Trinidad Road, actually. And I'm going to show you one more shot down, looking down Port Trinidad Road. Can you see the other houses that have been damaged down there? In the distance, you see all that destruction down there?
Yes.
Boats flipped over, docks destroyed, homes battered, roofs ripped off. All told, I believe there are at least 5 to 6 different homes in this subdivision that have been either destroyed or heavily damaged. And of course, the worst one is the one you see right behind me, right here.
Yeah.
Reporting live in Galveston, this is Bill Spencer, KPRC 2 News.
Yeah, just incredible to see those images there about how powerful those winds were. They just tossed the rooftops and just destroyed.
I mean, that one, the walls and everything are completely gone. Just crazy. All right,
we're going to check in now with our Gage Goulding. He's in Matagorda County. Gage, a different scene now. Is it way more calm than it was before for you guys?
Yeah, it took a while for the storm surge to go down for the second time. And I want to show you, just get away from me and get right to it. This is what remains here. Just take a look at this. We're going to soak this in for a second. This is the end of the road. We can't go any further. The beach is just a little bit far yonder down the way, but you can see this is going to take quite the cleanup crew to go ahead and try to figure this out. And earlier today, we tried to pull one log, probably a little bit bigger than one of these. This first guy you see in the bottom of your screen right there. We tried to pull one of those out earlier today with a winch on our truck, and there's just no way we could do it. These are some big, heavy pieces of wood, and I'm not sure where exactly they're coming from, because, let me show you around here. Telephone poles are still standing. Over here is more of just kind of flooded fields, and off to our right, There is some like little islands where I could see along the Colorado River here where I could see possibly some of that debris coming from. But I want you to take note of one thing. Look how beautiful the sky is. It's almost blue out here. Can you guys see that back there? It's honestly incredible. It took longer for the water to come down and for us to be in a position to head on out. Then, yeah, there you go. Let me put the camera up at the sky. Look at that. Isn't that awesome? So I know in the metro, still dealing with it. And yeah, it depends on where you look. You still see some storm clouds around here, but for the most part, blue skies, and you're just dealing with gusty winds. We're going to go ahead and try to turn it around here because I want to show you this whole road is like a trying to get through. It's a little maze, a puzzle, if you will, of just debris everywhere. Let me pull this back up full for you and get me out of there. No one wants to see me. Let's go in here. Yeah, I mean, look at just the amount. So these are big pieces of timber, and this just takes some serious force from Mother Nature to try to not only pick those up and move them, but strand them in the highest spots like this. So this is quite the scene to be seen here. But you can see some of these waters are still relatively high out here. But this is alongside the road, if you will, is more so the high point where we are. But I can't get over how the sky is blue. To me, I think that's really a remarkable thing to see, is just how blue the sky has been after being here all night with such an angry Mother Nature, with the force of the winds and the home that we were in just shaking and water rushing underneath it. So to see such a scene like that is truly eye-opening. Can't get to the beach. I don't know how long it's going to be to get to the beach. I saw some fire rescue crews come by, a little bit more braver than us earlier, but I'm kind of shocked that there are so many people out here. Look at this. This is a maze out here. People looking and doing their thing and trying to. I don't really know what they're trying to do, but they're out here trying to traverse the terrain, if you will. This is a great example of let us do this for you. Let us be your eyes and ears out here, because I mean, look, we're having to go around, and this can become a mess real quick. So this is not the time to come out and do your gawking, I would say, for sure. Sure, it's turning out to be a beautiful day out these parts. But maybe hold off on that. Let the crews get out here, clean all this up. Let the homeowners come back and assess their damage and see what's going on before they come out here. But once again, I just kind of can't stop raving about how the skies are blue after such a difficult night.
Well, yeah, because you've had a very long night. I know we've seen you go through, the front part of the storm, yes, and the eye of the storm and the end. I mean, so I'm sure just to see that blue sky is pretty amazing, and also gives us something to look forward to here in the metro area. We're really socked in right now, but hopefully in 4 or 5 hours, we might get some of those blue skies.
Exactly. Gage, thank you so much. Stay safe out there. We appreciate your reporting. Candace Burns here, joining Amy, giving Sophia a little bit of a break in our wall-to-wall coverage. We want to go to our Corley Pill. She's been on a story about the first confirmed death. A man is dead after a tree fell on his home on Heather Grove Court in Atascocita. This is the first confirmed death in our area, again, due to Hurricane Beryl. KPRC2's Corley Pill has been following the story since we learned of it. Let's go out to her right now.
A tragic situation out here this morning. We learned that a man was sitting on his couch when a tree fell through his roof and crushed him, and he died. This is the home where it happened. We have been told to stay back far away from the home because there is a lot of debris surrounding the house. And even if you look up, this large tree that is swaying in the wind could topple at any moment. And first responders are keeping a close eye on that tree, making sure it doesn't topple on any other homes, and they can respond right away if something does happen. But I'm told that a family lives at this house, and 3 other people were inside the home as well, including a baby. Fortunately, they were able to make it out safely, but just a tragic situation. And a sergeant told me that inside the home, there is a lot of debris after that tree went through the house. And right now they can't get inside the home because it's too dangerous. They even came back trying to get baby formula because the stores are closed right now. They don't really have anywhere to go. But unfortunately, it's unsafe for them to go inside. Again, it's unclear when they're going to be able to remove the man from the home. They're waiting on the medical examiner's office to show up to see what they can do from there. But that could take hours because, as you can see, we are in a very dire situation with this weather. And so people are being asked to stay off the roads, including some of the emergency responders that respond in situations like this. So we are keeping a close eye on this, especially people living in this area. You know, they're shaken up about this as well. I've been speaking with some neighbors, and some of them don't have power right now, and some of them have trees in their backyards that snapped or fell down as well. And I asked the sergeant who is out here, I said, what can people do in this situation if they're in an area that has a lot of trees hanging down? He told me there's really not much you can do right now, but pray, maybe move to your bathtub if the wind starts to pick up and you feel like you're unsafe. But Mother Nature does have a mind of its own. So an unfortunate situation out here where a man died. His family, they have moved to a relative's house, so they are in a safe space and no one's allowed inside that home. But we are monitoring the situation. We, of course, will keep you updated as we learn more. In Atascocita, Corley Peel, KPRC 2 News.
All right. Thank you so much, Corley. We want to just take you sort of on a tour by showing you some of the click-to pins that our viewers have sent in, that you have sent to us from all over our area. This first one coming to us from a viewer, that's a really tiny print there. So I'm trying to see hunkered down at LBJ Hospital. This is from one of our viewers, no name there. You can see that, and it was just 29 minutes ago.
Yeah, you can see that wind really moving right here at LBJ Hospital. The trees just going back and forth. Very high force wind in this click-to pin. And if you have pins, if you can safely take photos or videos and send them in to us, it's so helpful to us as we do this coverage to see what's happening in your neighborhood and around the area. So very important for us, but only do that if you can do it safely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amy, you've been seeing a lot of pins coming in. What have we been seeing from our viewers?
I mean, we've been seeing a lot of trees down. We were talking about how with the ground so saturated with so much rain from trees weakened from the recent storms that we've seen trees on top of cars, some trees on top of power lines. You know, trees, we got a click-to pin. I mean, that just shows these trees in Galveston on the island just snap, like one just snaps in half, just under the pressure of the wind that was just crazy. So, I mean, they do give us a picture of what is happening right now in your neighborhood and where you are, and then what a lot of these areas that are now out of it along the coast, the winds and the conditions that they went through earlier this morning. So we do want to get those from you. Go to upload them for us at Click2 Pins when you have a moment to do that.
Let's go to Caroline now. She's standing by, seeing the wind in this pin here. Is that a big issue that we're still dealing with, obviously, Caroline?
I mean, absolutely. The wind is going to be the big concern, the wind and the residual flooding. In addition to our channels, take a look. This is our 6-hour rainfall loop. Landfall at Matagorda, that was at 4 a.m. this morning. And now we continue up through 10 a.m. Now, a lot of our rain is lifting to the north. In fact, if we just take this now of the most recent time frame, the most recent hour, you can see most of those rain bands are going to be further towards the north. But the issue is we still have that center of the circulation, the eye of what was Hurricane Beryl moving its way through. So intense winds likely just pushed into the Woodlands area. Let's talk about where it's going, because now we have the latest update from the Hurricane Center. In fact, this was issued at 11 a.m. Maximum winds 70 miles per hour. So still going to be a very strong tropical storm moving to the northeast at 13 miles per hour. So that's another change. Earlier, we were watching it go due north at 12. Now it's going northeast at 13. So it's speeding up just a tad. We love to see that. The quicker it goes, the sooner it's all going to be over. By 3 o'clock, passing over Lake Livingston, approaching Nacogdoches and Lufkin. And then once we get to 4 a.m., Texarkana And by Wednesday, it's all the way out of here. Now, I did mention that we've had some issues with the bayous and the channels, and that's actually been a really big concern. In fact, current stream status down to the south, you can see from Clear Lake over towards Friendswood and Pearland, most of these gauges are going to be yellow or red. So flooding is possible or flooding is ongoing. In fact, on the west side of town, downtown Houston, all of these bayous are quickly going red. I want to show you what a few of them look like. We're showing you the cross section of the bayou. So this is White Oak Bayou at Heights Boulevard. This is a location a lot of folks know. It's inside the loop. The top of the bank is 32 feet. The current level of the stream is 38 feet. So it has exceeded its bank significantly by 6 feet, and it continues to rise. Take a look at how much this has increased over the last 6 hours. And unfortunately, we are still seeing a rising trend at White Oak Bayou and Heights Boulevard. Another hot spot that's continuing to see rising, that's going to be Buffalo Bayou at Milam Street. This is very close to downtown. Top of the bank, 21 feet. Current level, 27 feet. So we are 6 feet over the banks. This means we are going to see flooding really around our creeks and streams. So certainly do be careful with that. And remember, never wade into flood waters. Usually during this time, we see a lot of videos of folks. Once the storm has passed, they get in their inner tubes, they let their kids swim. Don't do that. That flood water is disgusting. There's fire ants in it. There's snakes. And you also never know if there could be hazardous waste chemicals in there, toxins, or Justin, you could even have power lines in the water. So not only is it disgusting, but it's also very dangerous.
No, it can be. Absolutely. It can be very dangerous. And interestingly enough, that gauge you're at right there, Buffalo Bayou, Milam Street, that's down towards UHD campus. I wouldn't be shocked if they've shut down Milam close to campus there, as well as Buffalo Bayou is certainly swelling. I'll talk more about this coming up here. This is White Oak Bayou in a second. Braze. First, though, I believe we're going to get over to the press conference with the mayor. Ladies, let me send it back over to you at the desk.
Very serious amount of water in excess of 10 inches across most of our city. Approaching 90 miles per hour winds, hurricane conditions. But we prepared for this. We had the department directors with us yesterday when I spoke to the public. Everyone was pre-positioning its resources. And of course, one of our major concerns is always energy, electricity. We have over 2 million in our region without power, over 700,000 Houstonians. What I want to emphasize in this briefing is, please, Houstonians, anyone that can hear my voice, shelter in place. Shelter in place. We're in an emergency. We're in a rescue mode, life safety. We're literally getting calls across Houston right now asking for first responders to come rescue individuals in desperate life safety conditions. We've been in the control room monitoring Houston fire, saving a life on 288 and Holly Hall, literally saving a person's life. We have fires that we're addressing. So shelter in place. We've had individuals show up at the LBJ hospital, residents in the lobby seeking out safety. We're doing everything we can. These department heads, the first responders. Our airports are not operating right now, but doing everything they can to get operations back. Now, where do we stand? We're in a rescue mode as I speak to you. The National Weather Service says in about 45 minutes to an hour, it should start improving. So we will do an assessment. We will be opening up centers. The Red Cross is in contact with us. We had locations identified, but now we've got to do an assessment. Most of the city multi-service centers, even the George Brown, are without power. We're locating situations where the generators have not been able to function. We know that we have a lot of infrastructure challenges in this city. The bayous, most of them I could name are out of their banks. Certainly White Oak is creating some life-threatening conditions along Heights Boulevard, White Oak, as far-reaching as Houston Avenue. Brays Bayou is out of its bank. White Oak. We're actually monitoring Greens Bayou on the northeast side. Our friends in the county, Cypress Creek and others, we're monitoring the San Jacinto River. So all I want to do is urge everyone, I plead with you to shelter in place. Do not put our first responders in further danger. Our first responders are making calls, over 400 911 calls in the last hour. They will likely increase. We are doing everything we possibly can. Stay off the roads. There is debris. I traveled from my home early this morning. The mayor was barely able to get to the emergency center. That's how dangerous our streets. Our traffic lights are out throughout the city. So let me just say, I'm going to get some real-time reports from these outstanding department directors, our first responders. But my message to the public is shelter in place, stay off the roads, take care of your loved ones, your neighbors, your pets. Bark. Without power, generator did not kick on. We have a lot to do when we assess things in future days. But right now, it's life safety. All we need to worry about right now is protecting lives. We've been in contact with the county judge. We've been in contact with the state government, and the White House has reached out to us offering assistance. So it's all hands on deck. We literally almost didn't have time for this press conference because we're so busy taking incoming calls for rescue, for public assistance. So all I can say is we prepared for this moment. We're doing everything we can. In the coming days, we will restore all the resources of power. Our multi-service centers will be prepared. We hope CenterPoint will continue to do their outstanding job. They're bringing in thousands of additional assistance, line personnel, vegetation personnel. Clearing our streets and lines and getting the power back on is one of our highest priorities. I do not have power. We're all living this together. We're all in this together. Collaboration with every level of government, with every social agency, with the faith community, and with these outstanding first responders. I'm going to ask our fire chief to come give us a real-time report of his operations and what we can do going forward. Chief Pena.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. I think, the mayor nailed it. I don't know. He summarized essentially what we want to communicate to our residents and to our community is stay home, protect yourselves, protect your families. We're in the middle of this. It's going to keep raining. We're going to continue to see street level flooding, but I'm going to report really quickly on our response posture, our focus, our service demand, and our resource status for this operational period. As the mayor mentioned, our focus right now is life safety. The life safety posture is what we're focusing on right now, and we're going to continue this until this storm passes. And then we're going to move into the recovery and consequence management. But for right now, our resources are committed to emergency response. The service demand, we've had one fire fatality that happened early this morning at a house fire in the southeast part of our city. The high water rescue call types and the live wires, the down wires, are a primary service demand. The streets are flooded. We saw video earlier of a fire crew evacuating and rescuing an individual that got stuck in a high water situation. If everybody could see that video, you see how resource intensive those call types are. We cannot continue to service every call type that same way. So we ask that you do the responsible thing. If you don't need to be on the street, stay off the street. If you are on the street, do not drive over flooded roadways. It doesn't take much for your car to be, the electrical system to be overcome, and you're dead in the water essentially. So please be cautious, heed the warnings, stay off the flooded roadways. What we're anticipating is widespread power outages. We're seeing that now. Those will continue. If you're going to use your generators, please do so responsibly. Keep those away from your home.
Carbon monoxide poisoning is a real concern following these types of storms. Use the 911 system for emergencies only. If you need to report any other service need, 311 or 211 is the appropriate way to do so. Reserve 911 for true emergencies. And again, stay off the streets. Stay off the streets because there is a lot of risk. High winds are still in the area. Street level flooding. The mayor mentioned about the condition of the bayous. If those overflow, we're going to see some structural flooding that will require our response as well. So please do the responsible thing. Don't expose yourself, your family, and first responders to the additional risk. Look out for yourself and look out for each other. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Judge Pinion. The real clear statement is help us help you. By staying in place, sheltering in place, you will assist the community because we need our resources addressing the most severe situations. With that comment, I want to recognize Chief Harden to give us an HPD status report.
Thank you, Mayor. I cannot reiterate enough what the mayor and Chief Pena have said. As this weather passes, which hopefully it will in the next hour or two, and we begin to or continue to respond to these rescue calls, please help us be part of the solution and not part of the problem. Stay home. Stay home so that we can utilize our resources to help the people who really need it right now. For HPD resources, we have our high water trucks that have been here all night, along with our fire partners and public works. We so far have made 15 high water rescue calls, rescuing 8 individuals. Our trucks are out and about, coming upon people who don't even have cell service, so they have not been able to call, as well as responding to calls for service. We're co-located with our fire and public works partners, as well as our other partners in the OEM and our EOC, and doing everything we can to respond as quickly as possible. Every single time we have an event like this where we have power outages, you always have a select few of our population that try to take advantage of the situation. Well, let me tell you that we are putting the full weight and force of the Houston Police Department behind helping the citizens of Houston. That includes staffing people and officers that you cannot see at places without power. So we will be in and about our community, both in our high water vehicles, our marked police cars, and our unmarked cars that you cannot see. So please stay home. Stay home so we can help the people that need it most. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Chief. The emergency center where we're located right now is the nerve center of the city during emergencies. We've been here all night. They've been preparing the last 48 hours. They're the best professional emergency response team in the country. We've done this before, and quite frankly, we're in the middle of an emergency and all hands on deck right here. I would ask our director, Tom Meadows, to come give us a status report and how the public can assist the emergency center going forward. Mr. Meadows.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to reiterate what my colleagues behind me, the mayor, have said. Life safety, that is at the stage we're at right now. Again, want to emphasize the message. Stay off the road, stay at home, shelter in place. We're currently to level 1 now. We're working with state and local and federal officials to ensure the safety of everyone. What we are doing is identifying those vulnerable areas. Assisted living homes, nursing homes. We have already those identified. We'll be monitoring that situation very closely to ensure that people are safe. And again, that the rest of the city, the residents are safe as well. We are going to be working diligently throughout the day and the night till this is over. But one thing that I want all Houstonians to know is that we are working together, have been working for the last 4 days to ensure everyone's safety. Mitigation plans are already set in place. The other thing that we're going to go after, we want people to understand that we are going to be in the recovery phase after the life safety, as Chief Penny had mentioned. So we are paying attention, we're monitoring closely, and again, want to emphasize, stay off the roads, shelter in place. We have the whole city already under the watch. We are paying attention. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I don't mind being redundant at this point. Shelter in place, stay off the roads, call 911, Our first responders are responding, fire, police, public works. Randy, why don't you come up and let us know the status of your public works? Our water supply is safe. Our water pressure is strong. Wastewater as well, backed up by generators. So we're monitoring our water supply, and I'm going to let our director give us a real-time report on public works.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, in the interest of redundancy, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to stay off the roads. As the mayor mentioned, the water supply is good. It is safe. We're doing well there right now, although we are still faced there with the same power challenges that everyone across the city is faced with. Most of our facilities are using backup generator power to accomplish that. We continue to monitor things, though, to ensure that we stay above all of the necessary thresholds from a regulatory standpoint. We are well above those thresholds at this point. So our drinking water supply, our wastewater is all operating within the regulatory parameters. As far as our streets are concerned, it's important for everyone to remember the primary drainage mechanism throughout this city is our streets. For better or worse, that is the reality of the situation. And so while we see our streets fill up with water, a lot of that is by design so that it can be conveyed out to the appropriate outfalls and drainage channels that are necessary. When we have an event like this, our streets are going to naturally drain slower than we are used to. And so we ask people to be very patient as they do that. And that's why we'd like you to stay home as long as you possibly can to allow the streets for time to clear. Once they clear of the water, we're going to find other hazards that are going to be there. And so once the storm passes and it's safe for our crews to be able to do so in conjunction with fire and police, we'll be out on the streets. We'll be out there with saw crews clearing debris. We'll be making sure that everything is operational from the right of way. You can help us by reporting power outages at traffic lights and intersections that you see, whether it's flashing or the intersection is dark itself. Report that to 311. That helps us make sure that we can get the appropriate priorities there. We'll be working with our partners, of course, at TxDOT, like we did just a few weeks ago, to help restore power to the intersections as quickly as we possibly can. Beware of live wires that may have come down as a result of some of the debris that we find in the city. But most importantly, stay safe, stay off the roads as long as you possibly can.
Thank you, Randy. And after we transition from life safety and rescue, we'll do an assessment. We will see where our multi-service centers can open to assist residents. And then we will also be working with the faith community and our social services. What I want to emphasize to everyone is collaboration. We're in this together. If we're united, we look out for each other, we're going to come out of this as safe and sound as humanly possible. We literally have rescues going on as I speak to you right now. First responders are putting their lives at risk, but that's what they're trained for. It's working, but if everyone will help us, help them. Look out for the most vulnerable. We've identified nursing homes, independent living. If you have additional information, certainly call non-emergency calls to 311, emergencies 911. And here's something I know it's very difficult to express, but we have to have patience in these situations. We have to prioritize our rescues and our first responders. So we're there. We're going to be here all day. We'll do an update mid-afternoon. We'll be here all night long, and we will not rest until every Houstonian, every community is served by the first responders, health, public works, and every service that a great city provides. With that said, I'll be glad to answer any questions. We're just about there. Certainly to our Spanish-speaking residents, I would ask Chief Pena to come give a status report in Spanish.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Bueno, mire, les vamos a dar un reporte en español de lo que ha ocurrido hasta este momento.
As Chief Pena gives the briefing, the same briefing in Spanish, just to kind of go over what we just learned from the mayor and from Chief Pena. They're basically saying this is still an emergency situation. They're still very much making active rescues. They've had 50 high water rescues. So far, we know there have been 2 fatalities related to this storm, one in the city limits of Houston, a fire fatality on the southeast side. The other one they didn't address here, though, was a man who died in Atascocita when a tree fell through his roof. But they say 911, they got 400 phone calls within the last hour.
Yeah. And what they said, you heard over and over after everyone came up to the mic to give their report, stay at home because this is still an emergency situation. It might seem that things have let up. But again, we have emergency crews. They are working down to the wire. And yes, they are trained to do this, but let's give them a little grace. You know, we just shouldn't have to do things because we just wanted to go out to the store. And from the coverage that we've been having all day long or all morning long, nothing's really opened anyway.
Right.
And unless it's an emergency, if you're a doctor or like us had to get to work, you really shouldn't be out on the roads because we don't want to put their lives in danger. Remember that they have families too, you know.
Exactly. So Mayor Whitmire saying that, you know, he's hearing conditions should begin improving within the next, by now it's like 30 minutes to 45 minutes from whenever he made that statement. But he said just because you don't see the rain falling outside doesn't mean that the water has receded. It doesn't mean that the danger has gone away. And once they're out of this sort of rescue mode, as he called it, they'll move into sort of recovering. What can we do to get the power back up again?
Where can we send people who don't have shelter? How can we help them find resources? Those are the things they'll be looking to do after we get out of this rescue mode. He also mentioned, because I know a lot of people might be watching us on their cell phones and maybe the battery's running low there and sitting in their cars. There's about 2 million people in this region who don't have power now. And he says that crews are working. They brought in extra crews. They are working to restore that power. But some good news, though, our water supply is safe. That's good to know. We have good water. We have safe water that we can be drinking right now. So that's definitely a relief. And also, if you do have an emergency, call 911, go ahead and do that. But if not, if it's not an emergency, say you see a down power line, you see traffic lights out, or there's something going on in your neighborhood, use that 311 number because they do want to know about those things. It's just that they need to keep that 911 line free for true life-saving emergencies. So make sure you dial 311 if you want to report something in your neighborhood.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue our coverage of what Mayor Whitmire is calling an emergency. We're still in rescue mode. We will be right back with more.